are we here? And no, I don't mean why are we here in this slightly surreal, grown-up Disneyland. I mean, why are we, a group of Jews, here? And why are we here? That existential question, why are we here in this planet? And I forgot my slides. Why are we here and why are we here? Well, I'd like to suggest to you that the answer to both of those questions is the same. It goes to the essence of what it means to be human and what it means to be Jewish. But in order to answer that question, I need to use two words that aren't very often used here in Las Vegas. One of those words is Torah, and the other word is God. Now, for the next 10 minutes, don't panic. It's going to be okay. For the next 10 minutes, only the next 10 minutes, Torah, I don't care who wrote it, and I don't care why they wrote it. All I care about is that it is the story of our people, and it embodies the values that have been with us for thousands of years. And God doesn't matter whether you believe or whether you don't believe. When I say God, what I mean is some access to a higher purpose, some notion that there is something in the universe that is bigger than us. So, why are we here? In order to answer that question, we have to go back to the beginning, and I mean the beginning, as in the beginning, God created. If we go to the very, very beginning of the Torah, what we get is a story of creation. God says, let there be light, and there's light. God sees the light, and the light is good. And that one verse is radical. In fact, there are three radical assumptions in that verse. The first is, how is the world created? By speech. God speaks, and something comes out of nothing. We are a people who believe that words matter, that words have the power to create something out of nothing. It's no wonder that we became the people of the book. Second radical assumption. This was not some sort of cosmic mistake. This was purposeful. This was intentional. We were created with purpose to our lives, and it is our mission to discover what that purpose might be. And the third radical assumption, it was good. Every time God creates something, God steps back and says, is that good or not? It's like the world's first evaluation form. God is obsessed with morality, and therefore we as a people also become obsessed with what is good and what is not good. God creates the light, it's good, ki tov. God creates the heavens, ki tov, it's good. God creates the earth, the trees, the grass, ki tov, ki tov, ki tov, ki tov, and then suddenly, chapter 2 of the Torah, something's not good. Lo tov, heyot adam levado. It is not good for Adam to be alone. The first thing in the universe that's not good is loneliness. And the rest of the Torah is going to be obsessed with relationship. Relationship between people and God, and relationship between people and other people. And I actually have to be a little bit careful when I do that, or it looks like I'm talking to another religious group. Those two relationships are core to who we are as a people. And what I'd like to do is to share two stories from the Torah with you. One about the vertical relationship and one about the horizontal relationship to answer the question of why we are here. So, they're both familiar stories. The first one about the vertical relationship. It's the story of Adam and Eve. You know it well. God creates them, puts them in the Garden of Eden, tells them not to eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Yeah, put the cookie jar right in front of the kid and say, don't eat. What do? They eat. And that's where the story becomes interesting, because they hide, and God calls out to them with a one-word question. Ayeka. Where are you? Now, that is not a physical question. This is not a cosmic game of hide and seek. This is a moral question. This is the equivalent of when I catch my son with his hand in the cookie jar. I catch him red-handed, and I say to him, what are you doing? And what do I want at that moment? I want some acknowledgement of responsibility, some acknowledgement that his relationship to me is important enough that he can take responsibility for his actions. I'll give you a hint. If God ever calls out to you and says, Ayeka, the right answer is Hineni. I am here, I am present, I am in relationship to you, and I value this relationship so much that I will take responsibility for my actions. My son has yet to say the word Hineni. When I catch him, Adam and Eve also do not say Hineni. In fact, they blame each other, they blame the serpent, they blame everyone else. And the punishment in the Torah for not taking responsibility is always going to be the same thing. The punishment, if you cannot live in the garden with God, you don't get to live in the garden with God. If you don't value that vertical relationship enough, you don't get to be in vertical relationship, and they are exiled. Why are we here? We are here to say Hineni, to be in relationship to a purpose that is higher than ourselves. My teacher, Avram Infeld, is fond of saying that whether or not God exists, it's important that we believe in God, because then we know that the job is taken. We are not candidates. We human beings have a horrible tendency to think that maybe we are candidates. The most important thing about saying Hineni is knowing that I am not God. Whatever God is or isn't, it's not me. I need to be in relationship to something that is higher and more meaningful than me. But if the only purpose in life was to say Hineni, we could just be on top of a mountaintop in Nepal meditating and being in connection to some higher purpose. We wouldn't be here. So that's only one half of the story. The other half of the story is that horizontal relationship. And that takes us to the next story of Cain and Abel. Again, you know the story well. Cain and Abel are off in the field. I don't know what Cain said to Abel or vice versa. I don't know why Cain killed Abel. All I know is that it takes 10 verses to tell this story, and in those 10 verses, the word his brother is used 7 times. The essence of this story is about being one's brother, being in touch with one's brother, that horizontal relationship. And so when God calls out to Cain and says, Ehevel achicha, where is your brother Abel? Again, it's not a physical question. It's a moral question. Are you going to take responsibility for that horizontal relationship? And in the same way that Adam and Eve do not take responsibility for the vertical relationship, Cain doesn't take responsibility for the horizontal relationship and says one of the saddest sentences in all of human history, Hashomer achi anochi? Am I my brother's keeper? And with that, he seals his fate. Because remember what the punishment is. The punishment always fits the crime. If you can't take responsibility for your brother and live in relationship with your brother, then guess what? You don't get to live in relationship. His punishment is navanod. A fugitive and a wanderer you shall be. You cannot be part of human civilization. Those 2 relationships, the vertical one, the story of Adam and Eve, and the horizontal one, the story of Cain and Abel, I'd like to suggest are paradigmatic stories for us as a people. God is looking for a partner in this world. Remember we said God detests loneliness? Well, God is looking for a partner. And what we know, all of us, is that loneliness is not quelled simply by being with other people. You have to be with other people who share your values, who share your dreams, and who want to go on a journey with you. God finally finds that partner. The partner who says, yes, Hineni, I am present, I want to be in relationship with you. Abraham says that on Mount Moriah. And Abraham also says, I am my brother's keeper, when he goes and rescues Lot, who's been kidnapped, and when he goes off to Sodom and Gomorrah and tries to persuade God that possibly his brothers should be saved. Why are we here? We're here because we say, Hineni, when God says, Ayeka, where are you? We're here because we say, yes, I am my brother's keeper. How do I know that? I know that because if you didn't say, Hineni, I am here, I am present, you would be next door in some casino. But you're not. You're in this room. You are here because you want to connect to something more transcendent and more meaningful than you can achieve on your own as a mere human being. And you're here because when God said, "Are you your brother's and your sister's keeper?" you said, "Yes, I am." And that's why you got up at the crack of dawn and you went out and you read to children who you've never met and you most likely will never meet again. You did it because you know that they are your brothers and your sisters, and you took responsibility for them. You are the descendants of Abraham. You say, "Hineni," and you say, "I am my brother's keeper." And so to you, the descendants of Abraham, I end with the first words that God ever said to the first Jew. Lech lecha, v'heyeh bracha. Go forth and be a blessing. Be a blessing in a vertical relationship to something higher than yourself. Be a blessing to each other, and be a blessing to the world. That's why we're here.